So, you've got a boring book on your hands. How are you going to fix it? Some literary editors would tell you you need more details, you need more texture, more descriptions to bring everything to life. I'd tell you you need to cut the fluff and get to the point. Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm an author, and I use this YouTube channel to give tips and tricks to help other writers finish their books. There are several reasons why a reader could think a book is boring. Maybe it's just not a good story, or maybe it's a subject they're not really into, or it could be that the story is not moving forward. Your book is meant to tell a story, so cut the fluff and start telling it. I recently stopped reading a vampire book that illustrates this perfectly. I know it's a vampire book because the title, the synopsis, and every review I read told me this was indeed a vampire book. So I read over 100 pages of this book. I was in chapter 10, and not only was there no mention of a vampire yet, there wasn't even anything weird or supernatural happening. Nothing. 100 pages into the book, and there is nothing going on. No mentions of vampires, nothing weird happening. At that point, you're not writing a vampire book, you're writing a book about a group of friends that have some kind of minor drama in their lives. Yes, books can have different layers, but at some point you have to actually get to the story you're trying to tell. If you realize that you've written a boring book, ask yourself, is this story really worth telling? The answer is probably yes, because you wrote a whole book about it. So there's got to be something in there that's interesting, so focus on telling that story. If you're still early in the book, or you're just starting, write out all of the necessary events and information that readers need to know to understand the story. Then use that as your outline. Everything outside of that is unnecessary. Those unnecessary little side quests, those conversations between two people that don't progress the story, those long, detailed descriptions of places or people or things that they see, all of that is what we call fluff. Now look, fluff isn't always bad. In fact, you need some of it to keep your book from reading like an instruction manual. But readers aren't buying your book for the fluff. They're buying it for the story. They want to know how the problems occur and how they're solved. They want to connect with the characters. They want to know how the story ends. They don't want to read a description of what everybody at a party was wearing or what kind of car every person drives. Too much fluff makes a book cloudy and you lose the story along the way. So how do you know if your book has too much fluff? One great way is to have somebody read a tiny part of your book, like one page, and see if they can tell you anything about the plot. If all they can tell you after reading that page is that the mist settles beautifully each morning along the shore of the old lake as the tall oaks overlook the darkness turning to light, you've got too much fluff. Another way is just review what you wrote and ask yourself in every section, if I remove this, does the reader still understand the story? If the answer to that question is yes, trim down that fluff, or even cut it out completely. Give your reader what they came for. Tell them a compelling story with all the necessary information, and then send them on their way. Trust me, they'll be grateful you didn't make them slog through 100 pages of monotony just to get to the vampire.